Welcome everyone to this week's Founder Chat. Thank you everyone who's joining us, whether you're joining us here live right now or you're on IGTV or YouTube later. We really appreciate you being here. If you're not familiar with our Founder Chats, we started these about a year ago and we've now done 35-ish. I always mean to look at the number and then completely forget to do that before every single live, but around that amount, and have met incredible, or got to know some incredible founders across North America and Europe and beyond through these kind of 30-minute casual conversations. Whether you're live or watching this later, please feel free to comment and ask questions. We'd love to include you as much as possible. In terms of who's here today and who we are, so Volition is, we build connections and capacity and knowledge in startup ecosystems on kind of a global scale, a lot of operations again in North America and Europe, and just kind of scaling from there right now. And I'm Melanie Ewan, so I'm one of the co-founders and managing partners at Volition, and I am very pleased to introduce you to Ashley Stone, who is the founder of the Village app. So welcome, Ashley, and thank you for being here today. Really appreciate you giving your time. Like you were just mentioning, you appreciate everyone who comes on here and provides their time live, and we appreciate you being here and kind of sharing your story and your expertise with everyone who's going to be joining us. And as you know, I absolutely love what you do, and was really excited to meet you. I remember you applying to pitch and me being like, oh, this is so cool. I have to meet this person. And then Ashley joined us for Pitch Mastermind in January, and then also pitched at one of our events just this past February. So I know you've had so much going on, and I don't want to take up all the airspace here. So I would love to invite you to tell us a little bit more about the Village app, which I know connects people to their personal support networks, but there's such a cool story behind it. You've been doing so much. You launched about 2 years ago. I think I have written down here that it's your 2-year kind of anniversary coming up tomorrow.
Yeah. So to understand kind of what the Village app is, I kind of like to tell the backstory because it just makes more sense that way.
Yeah.
So I actually come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My parents are entrepreneurs. My brother is. My grandparents are. Like everybody in my family is. And I decided to be a nurse. I didn't want to take that path. I wanted to do something completely different. And I see either my mom or my dad is watching, so they're probably laughing right now. And so that's what I decided to do for, and that's what I still do, actually. I was actually just doing the COVID shots yesterday. And
wow.
Yeah. And so having a career like that has kind of allowed me, because it has some flexible hours, obviously, to it, has kind of allowed me to explore other avenues. So jump forward to the summer of 2018. My daughter was almost 2. My son was almost 5. We were just having a great time, just moved into a new house. Things were great. And I was surprised to find out that I was pregnant for the 3rd time. So, you know, not in our plans, but totally fine. We're going to do this, expand our family. Luckily, our house had extra rooms that we just moved into. But the real surprise came a month later when we found out it was actually twins. I was like, okay, this is serious now. And, you know, going to work still as a nurse and stuff. And obviously the news got out pretty quickly. And telling people, you know, like, I'm going to need so much help. Like, I just need so much help. Like, and more so joking about it. And people are like, yeah, totally. Like, just let me know. Once the babies are born, let me know. And I was like, okay, like, I will. Like, I'm not joking here. Like, I want help. And so on April Fool's Day, our identical twin boys were born. So they just turned 2.
Oh, happy birthday to them.
So yeah, they were born, and you get that initial influx of a lot of help, right? You get people messaging you, you get meals dropped off, you get all that stuff, which is great. But at the time, I didn't really technically need it. I had a lot of family support and all that kind of stuff. But when the boys were a month old, my husband had to leave for work. He leaves for work out of town. So I had his help up until then. And so I was like, okay, like I'm going to need help now. Like, where are my people? Where is everybody? And I would message a couple of people, but most people were busy. And at the time, my son was just in kindergarten, and he was showing some signs of ADHD and autism. And so I was having to go to all these different appointments for him. And there was just at one point where I just didn't feel like I couldn't fathom bringing 4 kids into the small office of a doctor and actually listening and getting what I needed to out of this appointment. So I texted somebody, and she was working. Okay. So I texted the next person. She was busy with her own kids. Okay. And then it just didn't feel good. Like, it just felt like I cornered them. It felt like, you know, they felt bad because they actually did want to help me. It just wasn't the right timing. So I took a leap, and I posted it on social media, and I was blown away by the people who answered. Like the person who actually showed up for me, I would have never, ever like outright asked. She was an old friend I hadn't talked to in years. And she was just like, yeah, like I'm free. I don't have any kids. Like I'll show up for you. And so I was able to go to this appointment with my son, able to get what I needed to out of it, come home. And I was just like, this is lovely. Like this feels great. And something else came up again. I had to take my kids to swimming lessons, and having twins, you can't take two of them at the same time. And I was like, oh, I'll just skip it. But I was like, let me try this, like putting this out there again. And I got it back. And so for the most part, it was kind of working, but I noticed some problems in the fact that I was only posting things that I absolutely needed help with that I could not do on my own. And often talking myself out of it. So being like, do I really need help? Can I work around this? Can I muddle through it? Because there's such a stigma around like asking for help, you know,
absolutely
guilty about it. So I was just like, there's got to be a better way. And being a nurse, and being a casual nurse, we have shift callouts. So the shift callouts are very to the point. It says you need to be on this ward at this time at this day. And I don't need to know that they have too many patients, or I don't need to know a nurse didn't show up. I just need to know that I need to show up. So I was like, what if there was something like that for moms, for people, for anybody who needs help? And I was like, there's got to be something, you know? So I started searching, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like, well, this is like super interesting. And it just like kept gnawing at me. And, you know, seeing the other people in my group being like, oh, like I was having such a tough time yesterday. And I was like, well, social media told me that yesterday you had a great time. So like you posted these pictures of you with your kids at the park, and it looked like a great time. So she's like, oh no, we were like, you know, the kids were crying and blah, blah. And I was like, then why didn't you just ask for help? Why don't you just be more like vulnerable about that? And people will show up with you if you're just vulnerable with them. Right. And so then I was a little bit busy raising 4 children. So the idea kind of got put to the back burner. But then my one friend, she posted this quote that says, it takes a village to raise a kid. I think they're having trouble finding me. Do they just show up? Is there a number I call? And with that, I was like, I need to do this. Like, there's
that gnawing entrepreneur. And you're like, oh, darn it. I tried to get away.
Yeah, there's too many signs that say like, that I have to do this. So I put it out again to a group, and this one guy answered me. He has a background in marketing, and he helped me kind of guide to develop a bit of a business plan, kind of what is this that I'm making, even like what are our key demographics, all that kind of stuff. And then after we kind of had all that built, we had to take it to a development company to be like, you know, how much is this going to cost? Because apps cost like, even the basic app is like $75,000. Like that's a lot of money. And so I was like, I need to know like how much money I need to raise, and then I'm going to figure out how to raise that later. In doing that, I you know, we went to different companies, and one that we approached, her and her team loved it so much that they said, we're going to partner with you. We are going to build this for you to this certain point. And we're going to do it together. And I was like, what? Like, and again, goes back to that power of the ask. All I was doing was asking around. And so since then, I've partnered with Atomic 47 Labs, which is a local to Kelowna development company. And it's been just under a year that we've kind of been working. And since January, really hired more developers. And so really working on it strong. So basically, you know, it started as this need as for a mom, but we've seen so many different applications throughout the community. Whether you're a senior who needs a light bulb change, like things that we take for granted. And, you know, also thinking like, how is somebody, because we can't just have all these people who need help, because we need people to actually help them. So how are we going to make it like attractive to other people? And people do innately want to help. People like want to feel good, but they can't necessarily make that time commitment to an organization. You know, I'm going to show up every Tuesday for this person. And so we've really made it about being hyper local. So, you know, there's been times where, I could use a friend or someone to help me, but it doesn't make sense for me to call someone half an hour across town to watch my kids for 15 minutes so I can go pick up another kid. So getting to know our neighbors. And so within Village, we have a nearby neighbor feature and a friend finder feature. So you can find people who you want to be friends with. So those are people who, you know, maybe have kids the same age or share the same interests. And then the nearby neighbor feature is just anybody in your area who is your neighbor, and you can add them to your village. We're not about, you know, people collecting. We're not about just, you know, having these fake connections. We genuinely want you to meet up with these people and help these people. And for whatever reason, that sounds scary, you know, but I'm like, these people live in your neighborhood anyway. So whether you meet them or not, they're still your neighbors. And our messaging is definitely not like, go invite anybody into your home and watch your children. Our messaging is, you know, start making these connections, start feeling people out, and, you know, supporting each other that in a way that feels mutually beneficial. So, you know, maybe they're going to watch for your package when you're on vacation, and maybe you're going to, like, you know, bring in their garbage when they're on vacation, you know, just making these like connections. And there's actually a lot of safety in that too, because if I know, you know, Janet down the street drives a white SUV, what's like a black one doing in her driveway when she's on vacation, you know? So just building those connections. And, you know, as we're continuing with this, we are seeing even more applications. For example, if you want to go on a run with your friends, and you're going to go on the run anyway, so you can put out this, send out an event request essentially, and say, you know, I'm going to on a run at 9 o'clock. Who wants to join me? And you're not getting that. It's not a group message. So you're not getting that group like ping, I can't because I'm at work. Oh, I would love to do this. And then you get on all these tangents. And next thing you know, your phone is like blowing up. And you're like, I just want to go for a run and invite you. And now I have like 5 people. So it's just sending out these broadcasts to be able to invite people to different things. And also offering. So for example, I always use the example that my husband had he planted way too much lettuce in our garden. He just like, and there's nothing you can do with lettuce except eat it fresh, right? You can't freeze it or anything like that. So I was like literally knocking on doors, offering people lettuce, like, and so, you know, using it to offer things. So I have, you know, extra turkey dinner, I have extra lettuce, and definitely with like the pandemic and stuff, like people are like financially, like there's a lot of financial difficulty. So I even see on some of the groups that I'm a part of on social media, being like a mom who needs diapers, and there's not a lack of people who want to offer her, but the logistics just don't work out. You know, I'm not going to drive halfway across town to give somebody diapers. But I would definitely give it to my neighbor. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I was just something was on my mind and I've lost it. But anyways, I love hopefully it'll come back. Yeah. Anyways, I love this idea. I mean, at Volition we talk a lot about learning how to ask, and I think this idea of having to do things alone, I know is not ubiquitous in like every country. I know this is like North America and probably other places, but very, very much here, there's this idea that you need, whether you're a founder or a parent or whatever it is, that you have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And that it's like some sort of a weakness to ask for help. And it's something that we try to really build education on. And I'd be curious about I know this is an important thing to you as well, and something you like to talk about is learning that asking for help is a powerful thing to do. And I'd love to know, are you finding like, are people still hesitating with asking for help? Are you having to do education on that? How can I know people in my life who hesitate to ask for help, including myself sometimes when I really should. So are there any kind of like how do you help people who are struggling with that fear around asking for help?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is like, that's kind of like one of our biggest like barriers, you know, is getting that into people's head. And my quickest way to kind of get around that or explain it to them is like, I often say, would you ask a friend for help? And they hem and haw, right? And I say, would you help a friend if they asked? And they say, absolutely. I'm like, that's how your friends feel about you. So think about that next time you need to ask for help, is that if someone was asking you that question, would you help them? Right. Yeah. So that's kind of just the quickest way I get to it. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of a culture shift. But I also think the pandemic has helped us a bit with that. Right.
Yeah.
I think people are now like, okay, like it's, you know, we're all in this together, and, you know, it's, we need to help each other more, and people do want to help. And so just changing that mindset, but it is definitely an education piece that we need, because I'll even talk to people. They're like, well, I was like, well, would you help your friends? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what's the problem then? So, you know, some people are just to be a helper, and that's great. But then they're going to find that, oh yeah, like I can ask for help. And I think also modeling, right? The more that we do it and the more we accept about it, and the more people are just like aware that this is like acceptable, that I think is, like we'll get there. It's going to take some
We'll
time.
get there. And the village will help. And I'm assuming, I know you have this testing group that you're working with right now. And I assume like that you'll be talking about these things and talking about asking for help and these people asking for help and what they, the value of that and the value of giving help as well and the power around that. So I'm sure that you're going to help kind of contribute to that conversation, which I really appreciate. So you've been building this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Before we get into kind of vision and where you're going, what has this, especially last year, journey looked like to get you to having just launched this testing group, congratulations, very exciting.
Thanks. Sorry, you just cut out there. Can you just
sorry.
Last part of my internet, it's not yours.
No worries. I was curious about what has this last year looked like for you? Like what kind of lessons have come up this past year?
Yeah, I think patience is probably the number one thing. I'm not a very patient person, but I'm also not a tech person. I have the ideas and I have, all that kind of stuff. And, just being patient with like, not necessarily the people I'm working with because they're excellent, but the process of, of how long this actually takes and how long, and that, just to draft an email sometimes takes like, if we're doing like newsletters, and you're going back and forth.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So doing just like, a lot of patience and, my expectations, I would like things to be done again, like right now, and just letting that process, and learning that, it is good to have, because sometimes if I would have jumped on that too quickly, I wouldn't have learned this and this beforehand. So learning that okay.
You very slightly cut out.
Okay.
You said it would be good to have, and then we didn't hear what's good. I want to know what it would be good to have.
So it's good to have the patience, because if I would have jumped onto something too soon, that it wouldn't have, like, I've learned so much before I jumped onto that. Because like when I see like an application for like a grant, I like want to apply for it immediately. And then all of a sudden they have like a session on how to apply for this grant, but I've already applied for it. I'm like, man, if I just like waited a little bit, I would have learned more. So yeah. And obviously doing this internet thing, but it's funny because I jumped into being a founder during a pandemic. So I don't really know anything different, but balancing family life as well, because I need to schedule sometimes meetings during nap time. And because my husband still works out of town, and so trying to just figure all that out. But yeah, probably patience is my number one thing.
Lesson learned. So with that in mind, then, if you were to be talking to an entrepreneur who's just starting now, and I know this has just been the last year of your existence, but that you come from this long history of entrepreneurs in your family, what would be a tip that you might provide to entrepreneurs, an entrepreneur that's maybe they're watching this and they're like, I have an idea, I want to do something, I'm just starting out now. What is a word of wisdom from Ashley Stone?
So I say sign up for everything. So sign up for like whatever webinar, whatever, anything that you can get your hands on, and not just webinars, but like meeting people and stuff, because there's always an opportunity to ask a question. So in these webinars and in these things, ask a question, get your name out there, and that's how you start building these like little networks and stuff. And then I think at the beginning of this all, like any webinar that would pop up, I would like, yep, that's it. Like I need to sign up. And then as you learn kind of more what these like webinars and these like sessions are about, you can pick and choose a little bit more of what is going to be important to you. So yeah, I just say sign up for everything possible. And sometimes like even like applications and stuff, I've signed up for so much that when I get a no, it's like, oh, okay, because there are so many no's. So it's when you're like hinging on this one like application and you get that no, it really stings, right? So if you applied for everything and you get the no, you're like, well, I already got 4 no's this week, so we'll move on.
Smart. It's all practice.
Yeah. And it makes those yeses like so much sweeter. And just reminding myself too that, my business partners that I've partnered with now, that was my one yes. Like that's all I needed. Was that one yes. So for investors and stuff, that's like all we need is that one yes. And I need to go through all those no's, and I'll get there. And
Yeah, I really love that story. So I had wanted to come back to that you talked about how you found this partner who was willing to work with you because they loved your mission so much.
Yeah.
And I think like I find other founders who are searching for that. So what did you do to find this partner of yours?
Yeah, so we posted on a local Slack channel was where we
Right.
found them. We just put out, we're doing this new thing. We would like to get a quote. Would you hear from us? And then again, like I talked to a whole bunch of other people. I think it's just a numbers game, right? You just find
Yeah.
somebody who has a mission and has a like-mindedness. And
Yeah.
you find your person, and not everybody's going to be your person. And even though
Yeah.
they think like it's a great idea, they don't necessarily have the capacity to help you in that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, so there's often people who are like, well, how can I help? How can I help? I'm like, honestly, just talking about it and sharing
Yeah.
it is such a huge help, because it just is going to organically grow that way the more you talk about it. And again, going back to like signing up for everything, you're talking to other people, and they might not at that time be like, oh, like that's something I need or something I use, but you've planted a little seed, and they're like, the
Mm-hmm.
next time something comes up about, like, oh, I didn't ask for help, and they're like, well, there was this app I heard about, that
Yeah.
made it easy, and so just planting these little seeds.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because after I read your application, like I was mentioning at the beginning, your application is when I watched your video on your website and I was
Yeah,
just like, this is amazing. And we couldn't bring you into that first time you applied because we had so many people that
right.
applied and it was like it just has to do with like geography and so many different things. So we can only bring in like 5 people for each pitch event and like 30 apply each time.
Yeah.
So when you get a no, also know that it's not personal.
Yes.
Typically, very much typically it's not personal. And you can always reach out to people and say, why did I get a no? Or like, I'd love to talk about this, or I'd love to have a meeting with you anyways.
Yeah,
So I
that's super
started trying to
helpful.
do that. Yeah, to reach out to people and be like, I loved your application. I loved what you're doing. We couldn't bring you in this time, but I'd like to get to know you. But like, ever since then, whenever I hear someone talking about something kind of in your realm of
Yeah.
business, I'm like, have you heard of the Village app?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And it just like sticks in your brain. And even though like, even before I'd met you, I was like, this is so neat. And I was telling my nomad kind of community about it. And they're like, this is so cool. So even before I'd met you, I was like, this is neat. So and I loved and I loved it. So I want to like underline it and highlight it that you said, not only sign up for things, but ask questions. I have had so many people reach out to me to say, I love that question you asked at that event. I'd love to connect and I'd love to meet. So
Yeah.
we don't think of the fact that even just asking a question in an event gets you noticed, but so few people do it typically that you will get noticed.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was a part of this local like online event, and there was I think 200 people at this event. There's like an ongoing chat, and I think the chat was between like 3 or 4 of us,
Yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't anybody saying something? Like I don't know, just not being scared to ask or say something, because the worst they're gonna say is no. No one's gonna like call you out for anything usually. So yeah. That's something I've learned along this year too, is just put yourself out there. And I've been in like a Zoom room where like it's supposed to be like a breakout room and nobody is talking, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll talk.
Yeah.
Because this is my opportunity. I'm just gonna sit here and look at you guys. If no one's gonna talk, I'm gonna say something. So.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that advice. All right. So I know we're coming to the last few minutes of today's chat, and I want to again say hello and welcome everyone who has joined us since, or if you're watching this live or later on IGTV or YouTube. Thank you so much for joining, and feel free to ask anything in the last few minutes here. So I feel like I have a good understanding of your origin story. I love your story, and where you're at now, and what the kind of skills you've had to cultivate, including patience. So I'd love to know, what is the vision for Village App if we were to kind of fast forward, whatever that looks like, 1 to 3 years in the future? What does that look like?
Yeah. So like ultimately the big dream is that it's like at least North American wide, that it's something that we interact with as much as we interact with any other app. And something I didn't mention before is that the Village app is not meant to suck you in. It's not another platform that you need to maintain and scroll through. It's literally just a communication tool. It's just there to be like, yeah, this person needs help, put down your phone and then go and help that person. So, I would love for people to, wake up and look and be like, oh, this person needs help today. I can help them and use it in a daily way. We also have a plan to have organizations be a part of Village. So an organization like the food bank, who, you know, relies on donations to survive, would be able to create a profile and then gather supporters and then directly notify, because that's kind of our secret sauce, is we're directly notifying people. They don't have to be scrolling on the app to see what's going on it. So having organizations use it, because I know that a lot of organizations struggle to engage donors, especially younger donors, and that's where they are. They're on their phone. So I would love for organizations across North America to be able to use this as a platform to get their you know, volunteers and donations, and that people are just feeling, you know, I have this utopian village of like 1950s of like people in the street, and like you're bringing a casserole across the street, and, you know, the kids are playing. Like, that is my utopian, you know, idea that hopefully maybe one day Village will help to create. But ultimately, an app isn't going to be the end all be all. Like, this is going to be a tool, but it's going to be up to us to want to create that community. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Like, I would love to see what's going to happen in 3 years, but I guess I'll just exercise that patience.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so as your community, what can we do to support you here today to get just 1 inch closer to that dream?
So definitely following us on social media at thevillageapp.co. Signing up for our newsletter which is www.thevillageapp.co. And talking about it, you know, spreading the word, sharing. Like, people don't understand, even just sharing a post and stuff even just helps the algorithm. I hate the algorithm, but, you know, just helps boost us up and create our visibility. And obviously, if anybody has any connections to investors, who particularly impact investors, because regular investors tend to be a different breed than the impact investors, and then large communities who would be willing to give us a try here. So
cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the impact space here right now. There's an impact startup program being run through Spring. I don't know if you've heard. Are you a part of that?
I applied.
You applied? Okay, good. Good. We may have messaged you about it. I'm not sure. So neat. Yes, let us know. At Volition is also kind of like whenever you have updates, and this is to anyone who's out there that's in our community, whenever you have updates or exciting news or an ask, feel free to tag us on posts. Feel free to send us those, because we actually do reshare and repost and like and comment and actually try to help. And this is the thing of asking for help, right? And sometimes an ask for help can be as simple as tagging an organization, and we'll just know to like and share it. Like, we get the hint, you know? So,
yeah. I mean, I'm so thankful to Volition, because you guys have given me not only like positive, like feedback and constructive feedback on my pitches to bring forward, but you've given me a platform, and you are always like, you know, posting and reposting, and it's just, it's super helpful. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Because it takes a village, right?
It does take a village.
It takes a village, yeah. Yeah, thank you. You. I love everyone in our community. It's fantastic that everyone's here. So make sure to go to thevillageapp.co, and that's on the website. And that is the website. And then thevillageapp.co is also the Instagram and Facebook, I believe. So make sure to go and like and share and all the things, because it does help. And is there anything that we didn't touch on here today that you had wanted to bring up?
No, I think that about covers it.
That about covers it.
Yeah.
Great. Like to hear it. Fantastic. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I do have one last question for Ashley, but before I get onto that, to remind you that whether you're joining us here live or later, please do comment of kind of like what we're talking about right now. Please do like and share and comment and all the things. Get this up in the algorithm so everyone can see everything about Ashley and the Village app as well. And we really appreciate your support in also supporting these entrepreneurs such as Ashley and her team. So thank you, everyone who is here supporting us live or otherwise. And I will be back next week at the same time talking to Sean Burke next week. I have my little, with Checking In. That's another, that's a Vancouver-based founder, and he is running a mental health or mental well-being platform for employees and employers. It's very cool. So make sure to come back and learn about that. But as a kind of parting question, Ashley, I always like to ask, what is one thing that brings you joy right now?
What brings me joy is springtime. Oh, the sun. the sun and the warmth and being able to kick all the kids out the door, that is bringing me joy for sure. I can see 2 of them playing in the sandbox right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so that definitely, the springtime has been bringing me joy. Great question.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's as well. I can see outside right now, and it's sunny. This weekend, I literally threw around a ball. Like, I haven't done that in I don't know how long, but I was like, it's sunny. I'm going to go outside and throw around a football. And now my back hurts, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not a teenager anymore. I don't know. These things happen.
Funny.
But it's lovely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. Really appreciate, again, your time here today. We'll make sure to share this out. We'll make sure to share out how everyone can support Ashley and the Village app. Go like and share and look for impact startups, connect with Ashley, all the things. Actually, I do have one last question, which is, if someone wants to connect with you personally, where can they do so?
If you just message me on any of the Instagram, I'm the one behind. I'm the one who answers it. So just send a message through there and I'll answer.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's joined us. We will see you again next week. Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks.
Bye.